Well, Andrew Thomas is standing by for us in Maui. Andrew, obviously some disappointment from not having any agreement at all.
Well, at the beginning of the week, the idea was that the press conference you saw a little bit of there would announce at least a deal in principle, and that hasn't happened. Lots of talk about meaningful progress and good, constructive negotiations, but at the end of the day, no deal. And that leaves this deal very much up in the air because there is an unofficial deadline looming, and that is the start of the US presidential election, which will really get underway at the beginning of next year when the presidential primaries begin. It's unclear what the various presidential candidates would make of this TPP deal. Once it gets into the realm of domestic US politics, it muddies the waters. Frankly, anything could happen. An incredibly complex deal trying to be negotiated here, as you say. It's not just the New Zealand dairy industry, it's the Mexican auto industry, the truck industry of Japan, the sugarcane market of Australia. All these competing interests have to come together. And of course, when one thing goes on the table, it has knock-on effects elsewhere. There are lots of people very pleased this deal hasn't gone through. Consumer advocates say this TPP deal would have been very bad for consumers in right around the TPP countries. For example, there are health advocates who say that if a deal had gone through, it would have lengthened patent times for pharmaceutical companies. They could have kept their copyright over their drugs for longer. You can see some of the horn blowing that went on by the protesters earlier in the week. They said that if those patent laws got extended, the price of drugs would go up, and that would impact on the access to healthcare for some of the world's poorest people. So they're very pleased this deal hasn't gone through. But of course, for the negotiators, where next really? The timetable is disappearing quickly, and at the moment there are no further talks scheduled at all. Though bilateral talks will go on, there are the negotiators stick around here now even, the ministers all go home. It does involve those ministers though getting back together before a formal deal can be reached. It looks further away frankly now than it has for some time.
Well, Andrew, you know, one of the things that's been touted about this deal too is about the protection of wildlife and the environment as well. What's coming out of the talks on those issues?
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because when you have one of these huge, great trade deals, it's not just about tariff reduction, it's about the architecture of trade, the rules and regulations that govern industries right across all the countries, so there's some kind of harmony between those countries. And of course, when you've got those rules being agreed centrally, you need them to be fair on all. And environmental campaigners, as you say, don't think the standards in this proposed deal were high enough. Likewise, labour unions don't think the labour rules were tough enough too. That's why they were sceptical about this deal in the first place. They are very pleased it hasn't gone through.
Andrew, thank you. Andrew Thomas there speaking to us from Maui.